Assembly Member Curtin.
Thank you, Chair. LGBT inclusive relationships and sex education is something that's concerning, giving great concern to parents up and down the country, within London and without, and it's the wrong thing to do to introduce into schools. We've always had the understanding in this country that parents are the primary educators of their children. And at the moment, parents have the right to withdraw their children from sex, sexuality education and relationships education. And the guidance which has come out from the Department for Education steamrollers over that right that parents have to push through the Stonewall militant LGBT agenda against the rights of parents. Now, under the European Convention of Human Rights, Protocol 1, Article 2, the state shall respect the right of parents to ensure that education and teaching is in conformity with the religious and philosophical convictions of parents. And we've seen in many, many places around the country conflicts which have happened when programs are going ahead of the implementation, the compulsory implementation in September 2020, have not respected the rights of parents to teach children according to their own beliefs. In Birmingham, we've seen heroic Muslim parents standing up in Parkfield School and Anderton Park School because they want to protect their children from some of the teaching about transgenderism and homosexuality which are going into the schools there. We've seen in South London Christian parents who have been smeared for wanting to take their children out of so-called LGBT Pride Days in School Diversity Week. And we've seen in North London Orthodox Jewish schools who have been failed by Ofsted or given bad ratings by Ofsted because they don't want to give lessons about transgenderism. And that's absolutely right, because there are two sexes, male and female, and that's determined by your anatomy and chromosomes. And some of the teaching that's going into schools will actually challenge that fundamental scientific truth. And these are the kind of things which are going into schools and are going to be compulsory, certainly in secondary schools from September 2020, not in primary schools. But if the head teachers of a school decide that's what they want to teach the children, then parents will have no right anymore to challenge that and take them out of some of the lessons which are going to be put into the schools from September. So it's the wrong thing to do because it steamrollers over the rights of parents to teach their children according to faith and family values and traditional values if that's what they want to do. So this motion is wrong and I'm not going to support it. Thank you.
Assembly Member Cooper.
I'm pretty much 100% sure, and I wouldn't normally say this because I wouldn't dream of speaking on behalf of Assembly Member Boff or others, but I'm pretty sure I can 100% guarantee that all of the LGBT members of this Assembly and our allies around the table are as offended by that speech as I am. How disgusting, how disgraceful. I know it's part of your platform that you've just launched as standing as an independent against political correctness and in favour of claiming all this nonsense about people who have been sexually abused and that's what makes them gay. You know, that is such an offensive idea, and it's one of the many offensive ideas that you come out with. Sometimes you say things and we laugh at you because all you want to talk about is running up flags for Brexit. This is the kind of pernicious, disgusting statement that has no place in this London Assembly, and I cannot wait until both the Brexit Party and UKIP fail to meet the 5% threshold and you are gone from this chamber, so none of us have to listen to that kind of stuff before. You know, it's really wrong that we are not able to give support to young people, whatever their sexuality, whether they're gender fluid, non-binary. You know, we need to be supporting people in this country as they're coming up against the discrimination, against the homophobic attacks that we've seen on public transport in public. London is open, London is diverse. We should be standing up for all Londoners, and I hope that I can speak for everybody in saying that that's certainly what we are going to be doing, is supporting Assemblymember Arnold and Assemblymember Sahota, who moved this motion very eloquently, and we're all going to be voting very positively in favour of it and it is going to succeed and go through.
Assembly Member Boff.
You know, I was actually going to vote against this motion because of the little stab that it had against the government and funding and stuff like that. But actually, Assemblymember Curtin, you persuaded me to support it. So, thank you very much for that. But why should I pay any attention to somebody who thinks that the only reason I'm gay is because I was sexually abused as a child? I'll tell you what is abuse, Assemblymember Curtin. Abuse is keeping children ignorant of the world that is around them. Abuse is trying to invent fairy stories about where they came from. Abuse is keeping them, keeping away from them the facts of life, the facts of the community around them. And what this motion calls for, and the bit I support, is that this involves educating children in an age-appropriate way. And this is where they always miss out, the arguments. They always think that, you know, education to children is going to be in some way graphic or look like pornography or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous that you introduce children to relationships in an age-appropriate way, and you teach them how wonderful love is, how wonderful relations are, and how they're to be celebrated, whatever the gender, whatever the identity of the people who have those relationships. So thank you, Assemblymember Curtin. You've added one more vote in favour of this motion.
Assemblymember Arnold to sum up.
Chair, I would just say thank you to colleagues, and I would just say to Assemblymember Curtin, you know, teaching all children about respect for differences is a core human value. And like my colleague, I reject the position that you hold. I'm not going to go into any judgment about it. I'm just saying that so many of us, so many organisations have been campaigning long and hard. I've been campaigning throughout my adult life and before that, because I come from a traditional Christian background and came out of churches where they're still in the Old Testament and judging everybody, wanting people to not be relevant, not live relevant lives to where they are. I rejected that now, and I have continued to campaign against all sorts of hatred, against all sorts of pressure that some would put on others. We have the law. We have that commitment. I'm just once again saying this vote will be calling on the Mayor to do all that he can to add to the needs that we have identified. I'm sure that he will. And I'll go no further than that, except to say if he doesn't, then I'm sure the next Mayor will. Thank you very much.
Those in favour of the motion, please show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 in favour.
Those against?
That's
One dissent. Right, next motion.